All right, and welcome to Mythical Monster Investigations, where we're going to be doing another monster, and I don't even remember which episode we're on. We're like,
I
what was this, like 24?
27 or 28
Like, I genuinely don't remember. Because with the addition of the Angel podcast, we've been going a little out of order, to be fair.
Let's find out. 28.
28, okay. All right, today we'll be looking at Mermaid, which apparently is hot button enough for certain chats and artificial intelligence modems to not even want to produce them.
Oh yeah,
So
Chat GPT was like, "No, I'm not gonna generate an image for you, Shadow All Fox." Grok was like, "I'll do
yeah,
it for you though," and I couldn't use any of those images.
they all look like Ariel.
Yep.
And it's like, what are you people looking up that involve? You know what? No, I don't even want to
Yeah,
finish this
You don't
question
want the
because
answer to
you
that
want me again?
question.
no, I don't. Like it's like all I can say is all of you get a hobby.
You know, I could probably check Meta.
It's fine. Anyway, well, this is probably going to be a shorter one unless we just waste a bunch of time with nonsense. So, yeah, we're probably going to waste a bunch of time with nonsense. So, let's get started with the nonsense. I'm going to be your host Archimage along with my co-hosts
Shadow All Fox.
Why am I here again?
because you like the section
Every
about,
time I think I wake up from the nightmare, I'm right back here.
because you enjoy the section about going who's that monster Pokemon.
Fair enough. I'm Zed.
Thank you. And don't pretend you're not enjoying all this nonsense.
Fair enough.
Okay. So the mermaid is a creature whose mythology has, and oddly enough, has not been greatly influenced by Hollywood. And what I mean by that is, when we think of mermaids, we mostly think of the Disney version, the cartoon, not the live action one. I'm sorry, Disney, your live action one will be forgotten very quickly, but the cartoon will be remembered forever.
I still haven't seen the live action one.
It's not worth seeing. Like, to be fair, the actress does fine. Like, the movie's not bad, but it's very forgettable, and there's no reason for it. Like, it doesn't update the story.
I look at
in any
all
way.
of their live actions the same way. If you've seen the animated one, why do I need to see the same thing again?
Yeah, I will say the Jungle Book one, at least it was a bit different. Like,
It
there
did
were
something
actually
different.
changes to the story. Yeah. So, I won't say that objectively it's good, but at least it was different. Like, this one does the same thing, but it's just longer. So, whatever. But what do I mean by back to it? What do I mean by it has not, Hollywood, Disney, and all this hasn't really affected it? Well, in terms of appearance, the General Mermaid, we think of a mermaid like the Disney version, basically top half a woman, bottom half a fish. And honestly, that's remained mostly unchanged. There hasn't been a lot of great mixing or, in general, any huge changes to their overall aesthetics.
Oh.
Even in early depictions, they've pretty much stayed like that. However, there have been changes, but the biggest changes come not in their aesthetics or their looks, but primarily in their motivation. And that's what they plan to do. If they're a good omen, a bad thing, whether they're there to help, fall in love with a prince, anything like that, that's been the biggest change. And again, that's primarily to modern Hollywood and especially Disney. Disney, thanks to Disney movies, we see mermaids as, these very wonderful creatures who, can be given legs and spawn two sequels that really didn't need to exist, which I guess were fun, but like,
I will say Mermaid have changed a little bit. I mean, they do. We had got another interpretation of the mermaid that wasn't in ancient time. And
well,
mainly, I'm referring to where the top half is a fish and the bottom half is
Oh,
Oh
for
no,
Christ's
no,
sake.
no, no!
Why?
Get rid of it now.
Okay.
I thought you were about to. I was like, wait, did Shadow War Fox find something I didn't think about? Because I was looking for a bunch of different, and like, of course, no. I should know better. I should know better than to trust you on this. But no, okay, so avoiding. I will give credit. One of Family Guy's actually decent jokes because most of
Surprisingly,
their
they
jokes
wasn't the first one to come up with that.
they weren't.
No, that came from the one I originally saw was from a manga where they were making fun of how there's two types of mermaid: the regular mermaid and then the reverse mermaid, where they had a fish, a realistic fish, and the lower half was a woman. I'm like, what the heck?
Actually, no, that makes more sense. Family
I wanted
Guy's
to
never
use that
original.
one, but that one was definitely more risque.
I think I've seen that one. Is that where the naked? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking
Where
about.
the
I saw
fish is
that on a
going blah
joke.
blah blah.
Yeah, I remember. I remember now. Oh, good.
You gotta
Okay,
admit that
so
was an interesting take on the mermaid.
that was an interesting take, and I feel like other people have at least thought about it, but never really wanted to go into it because then there's the whole, like, literally when I was writing this, like, one of my coworkers asked me about, like, have you ever had that mermaid fantasy? I'm like, well, no, because I kind of go with what Futurama said with
Oh.
Fry when he fell in love with the mermaid.
I lay my eggs
Bottom
and then you
half,
just
what kind of work?
It's usually work if I just lay my eggs and you come by and
Yeah, it's like, yeah, no, I'm kind of with that. It's like, how exactly is the bottom half with the more fun stuff work if the bottom half's a fish? I mean, even Family Guy made that same joke.
I now okay, without us going into the myth of mermaids just yet, I now have a headcanon theory going on. It's that I think mermaids was invented by a woman, not guys. And my justification is there's no actual penetration or sex involved, but there is like a lot of romance, of kissing, of full play, but there's no actual deed technically. There can't be. No guy would come up with that.
Yes, I would agree with that, though I think that's actually a better argument for later romantic mermaids because to get us back on track, when it comes to mermaids, like I said, thanks mostly to Disney and Hollywood, mermaids become a little bit more, kind and thoughtful and, even romantic at times. But when it comes to mermaids, generally in ancient times, they were seen as ill omens. If you saw a mermaid, it meant something bad was happening. They were a sign of a great catastrophic storm, or perhaps rough seas, something like that. Or at times, they could actually be seen as those causing the bad tidings. They could be the perpetrators of the disaster itself. Now, while the majority of legends do see mermaids as this ill omen, which again kind of goes against the romance thing. So, but again, that might be for later stories. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the later romance stories about mermaids could have been invented by a woman. But again, they were ill omens, and although sometimes others, very small, it's a small minority that also would interpret them as protectors. They were actually warning sailors and shipgoers of upcoming disasters. So like if you saw a mermaid, you're like, okay, they're here to warn us something's happening that we need to be ready for. Although again, this was a minority. The biggest majority of mermaid sightings were typically associated with something bad happening. Now, what's particularly interesting about mermaids is that they've actually not needed the entertainment industry to keep their mythos alive. For instance, unlike some of the werewolves, the vampires, and other things, it's the entertainment industry, particularly that they are such great movie monsters that actually kept their myths alive. If it wasn't for a lot of entertainment, is that a lot of these monsters would have just gone by the wayside. I mean, the Wendigo would probably be completely gone if it wasn't for various supernatural TV shows kind of boosting their mythos. However, with the mermaids, that is not needed, as actually mermaids have continued to be seen even to this day. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So
Okay, sorry, my computer did something strange there. There are sightings of mermaids to this very day across the world in small areas, but still in various areas. Which did I have a map for that?
Yeah, sorry, I got a little behind because something was going strange on my end with OBS.
Okay, so
No,
yeah,
if
because
something strange happened to OBS, that was me checking something because something was looking strange on my end. Sorry about that.
okay, so just say on my end, like
It got tiny.
no, not tiny. It looks pixely.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
no, that
pixely.
was me
Okay,
fixing something, trying to
okay,
check
gotcha.
something. Sorry, that's me trying to do something on the back end without making it look distorted for the YouTube audience.
Gotcha. So anyway, from the map, for those of us looking on YouTube, the map we can see that a lot of the areas where mermaids seen are basically towards Europe. The majority, a little bit in Texas, and then quite a few around New Zealand, which interesting placement. Not a lot in Africa, very few in South America, but mostly in the Atlantic Ocean, not much in the Pacific, which I guess it's just because the Pacific being the most vast of oceans, a lot more people would disappear. I guess you really wouldn't see a mermaid, maybe, or
I
maybe
would.
it's a majority of sea life. No, majority of sea life does not live in the Atlantic Ocean, or maybe a majority of sea life seen. Actually, I would think the Atlantic Ocean is probably more heavily commercially shipped than the Pacific Ocean. I think that might be why, though I haven't looked that up. But I just thought the placement was interesting. The point is that mermaids are still being sighted to this day. So here's the question: is this some kind of undiscovered creature, or do you guys think this is a global case of mistaken identity? What do you think?
I just noticed none show up in close to the coastline of where we live, and I have theories for that.
Are they good theories or are they dumb?
I mean, they're smart for me. They sound good for me because they feed
Okay,
my ego.
yeah, but this is also you who says Black Logic from Black Dynamite sounds completely logical.
It makes complete sense, just like this, because my theory
Oh
is
no.
we don't see any mermaid because I'm just too attractive, so they don't want to get near. It's like a reverse siren kind of deal for going on. Or maybe they all got like a restraining order and they just don't want to come near because they know how desperate I am. One of the two.
Um,
I think my own logic is that's why waves recede. They're getting away from me.
okay, Shadow R Fox, I want to point out that you have one time mentioned that the reason you don't swim is to protect all the fish in the ocean because you love sushi so much.
That's
So
also
you'd
true.
probably eat half the mermaid. And not in the fun way.
Hmm. How much meat do they have on them?
Okay.
I mean, with enough wasabi, everything kind of tastes the same at that point. So, is it
Okay.
cannibalism at that point?
Not if you eat the fish. Why am I helping you with this?
Is this how Wendigo started?
Okay. Or mistaken identity. To understand this, we should look back at some of the earliest representations of mermaids. Now, one that is greatly known, which is in no small part thanks to Disney's popular movie again, is the sea deity known as Triton. And Triton, as most people know, is basically, well, most people know him as Ariel's father, which he is a deity who is half fish, half man. Which, for those of you looking on YouTube, this is a vase representing him. He's actually wrestling Heracles. Why, I don't recall, but that's more or less what he looks like. Now, he was actually a messenger in the seas and didn't become a. Actually, I'm not sure if he became king of the seas in Greek mythology. That might be strictly Disney, but he was an important sea god. I do know that much.
He is directly Poseidon's heir. So when Poseidon passed, he was supposed to inherit the title of sea deity. Yes.
Yes,
I don't.
Poseidon being an immortal god.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever direct. Well, the gods had a lot of deities who were supposed to essentially replace them. I don't know. I don't because Neptune. It was Neptune with the Romans, so he didn't get any mention there. Because he really doesn't play that many large parts in a lot of the Greek mythos,
No, not
other than
really.
being Poseidon's messenger. I other than like SpongeBob and yeah, Little Mermaid, he's those are only where he become king of the sea. He's in the Greek mythos. He's always regarded as the direct heir to Poseidon and
Yeah,
the inheritance of all of what Poseidon would give once he leaves, which would be the
and
sea.
again, until then, he's basically a sea messenger. Small note: Neptune is the Roman version. Neptune is just Poseidon
Yeah.
in in Roman. But oddly enough, Triton actually is one of the few gods who remains the same. So Triton is Triton both in Greek and Roman mythology. No real point to that. It's just the more you know. But anyway, Triton, as mentioned, is the son of Poseidon and the son of Amph- Amphitrite.
Amphitrite, yes.
Yeah, Amphitrite. Who are his parents? And Amphitrite is the wife of Poseidon. Unshockingly, Poseidon, like Zeus, was also not a very faithful husband. Who would have guessed?
More faithful than Zeus, but that's setting the bar pretty low.
That's putting the bar on the ground essentially. Anyway, though, there are other deities that possess these features, and unsurprisingly, they're connected with the sea. So it does make sense. But see, the thing is, it's not the standard. Many sea deities, such as Amphitrite and Poseidon, don't have fish features. They may be accompanied by fish, they may be around fish, but they don't actually have fish parts. Poseidon is just a regular guy, and he bears a trident, which honestly, I don't even really know why a trident is associated with Poseidon. I feel like I looked this up at one time, but I don't remember.
Um, probably same reason why Hades got the fork, the two pronged fork.
Bident,
Bident,
yeah.
yeah.
Like
Um, because with
I,
let me
I, I'm trying to remember.
okay, that's what I thought. That's probably why Poseidon and Amphitrite um didn't have fish feature. They're both directly the offsprings of like Titans.
Yes, no, but as far as I know, Poseidon's trident didn't actually have any relation to the sea. I think it was just
It was given
a
by
gift
the
from Cyclopses,
Cyclops.
right?
Yes, no, the
Yeah,
Cyclops gave them that.
yeah, but I don't think there's any symbolic reference to the sea or anything else. He has a trident.
Trying to remember what its powers was because Zeus had
Well,
the lightning bolts.
yeah,
Um,
no, it's a three-pronged spear, obviously, but
yeah,
dominion over the oceans, control the seas, cause earthquakes, create storms over the water, things like that. I think it could also create freshwater springs at one point.
I remember it made the springs.
But I
Because
don't remember there any being like any symbolic significance to the trident. By the way, I'm not gonna lie. As a kid, I thought that Trident was named Trident. Like I legitimately, uh, like misheard the thing and thought forever that like Ariel's father was named Trident instead of Trident. Again, no point to that. I just thought it was funny.
no, sorry, I'm
But
trying to figure out the Trident thing now. You got me wondering.
like I no, I remember. I believe I looked this up. I couldn't find any real reason that he had a trident. Like same with Hades and the Bident. Like they became associated with him, but there's no real reason for him to have a Bident.
Oh, that's why. Is Tridents are typically used for fishing.
I hear that. I have never actually
It's
seen a
used for
trident used for fishing.
spearfishing.
Never seen that.
Not just with Greeks, but other cultures also used it for fishing. Because the logic was more ends to regular people do spear fishing with a single spear, you'll catch one fish. Doing it with three spears, you triple your chances of catching a fish or catching even more fish.
Yeah, I guess. I
So
don't know. Like,
it's literally because it was a tool of fishermen. That's the main reason.
I mean, by that logic, you pretty much just use just use a pitchfork.
I mean, that's literally they probably couldn't make it as well as they could back then.
Yeah, probably that probably is the reason. That might be why I don't really remember it because that's kind of because it was a boring reason. But regardless, we know this thing. They don't have any real fish elements, and this is actually true with a lot of deities. Actually, including the Egyptians. Many of the Egyptians have surprisingly a lot of cultures have a lot of water-based deities, a lot of sea deities, quite many, and actually most of them don't possess these humanoid and fish features. In some parts of China and Japan, they can be dragons or serpents, but not humanoid. Egyptian also, their one of their many Nile gods and goddesses were humanoid again. So clearly, this fish thing is not really something that has to be there. So the question is, why the look? Why half human and half fish deities? Now, it's unclear with the mythos. It's really not sure why exactly this started, but uh, what do you guys think? Maybe it has something to do with practicality?
Um, with just the mermaid, or why other cultures doesn't have fish features on their sea gods?
Both.
Well, for the gods that I mean, oftentimes to be fair, the when you named off the Chinese, they literally all dragons, and they all even when they're in their human forms, they tend to have like dragon like traits, so they do have scales and fins and stuff like that. So
Yeah, but typically not fish.
no, because at least going off a journey to the west, the dragons are more noble, and since you're saying directly gods, the dragons are generally seen as the sea deities because they're more noble in those qualities and befitting to rule over um, great bodies of water. And even then, some of the other gods were just straight up humans. Like
Yeah,
Marshall Taiping was he was the what, a naval commander for the celestial
till
um,
he fell on a pig, right?
No, till he tried to have a thing for with the moon goddess and got caught, and then sent to Earth, and then accidentally screwed up in choosing his form and ended up with part pig, part human.
Oh, so well, I thought he actually fell on a pig and that's why he looked like. No,
Pa-
he screwed up his transformation.
um, well, I may be butchering it. Because it's been a long time. Again, it's been two
The,
books
the
since
way
I.
that I remember the way that I remember it was when he attempted to have that relation event and was caught, they cursed him to be a pig.
Is that what happened?
It was essentially he was caught by the gods trying to have that relation.
Because I know he
I
can
remember
still
that
use his
part.
No, he
transformation.
can still use it, but basically he is stuck in a half form because he's caught in between being part pig and part human because he's human enough to pass for a human, but he's ugly enough that people acknowledge that he has like a snout and a big pig like belly and ears kind of like a pig. So it's been a very long time since I read the first volume where it goes over why he was cursed, but
Yeah.
it was basically like they sent him to Earth to be immortal as punishment, and when he got here, essentially he screwed up somehow, and he ended up trapped in a half pig, half human like form. Yes, Archimage, he can still transform,
No, I know
but
he can transform because that
like
was
he
a
can't
big thing.
change into what his celestial form looked like, which is a handsome man. He
Yeah,
he's he almost became an evil spirit essentially.
makes sense. Yeah,
Same
sure,
with
it makes sense. But
Sandy in the sense of he's also very hideous and ugly to look at. Where his celestial body probably looked, like them getting stuck here in ugly human forms was part of their punishment.
yeah. Well, anyway, back to the mermaid.
But yeah,
So
to the thing, I'm trying to think of like I can think of plenty of monsters that have fish-like qualities, but not the deity. Most of the time, they like to acknowledge the deities as being human because we have humans have an ego to us, and we like to imagine all great, all-powerful beings looking like us.
yes, and well sculpted versions of us.
Cthulhu, that's a fish. That's a fish
Okay,
deity.
really? We're gonna have Cthulhu is again. You and bloody Cthulhu. What is it with you and Cthulhu?
He was the only thing I could think of that was a deity that had fish-like prophecies.
He was literally a horror monster like that. You might as well have called it from it.
Well, no, he was a clown.
Technically, he was a spider.
I would be better off calling the space turtle.
Just
Uh,
realizing how weird Stephen King's books are.
yeah, I'm trying to think of
You're
others.
just now realizing this.
No, I forget how weird his books are. Then I'm reminded with these conversations.
I think there's a
Because
few
I choose to never
African
read Stephen King's
deities.
books again.
I think there's a few African deities who have fish-like prophecies.
I'm not completely sure, but African deities are really like there's so many
It's
African deities.
hard because they're all told through audio rather than written,
And
so
there's no pictures.
there's not enough. Well, yeah, because again, they're all told
Yeah, I
audio
know. It's
wise,
like
so the story
that's the
doesn't
thing. Their
get passed
descriptions are
around.
not very. They don't have a lot of descriptors to what they actually look like.
Like with
Have
Egypt
you ever
and
looked at
Greek,
their brute slang? It's a pain in the butt to figure out what the heck that original translation was.
like I mean, that's why Egypt, Greek, Chinese and Japanese and those types of cultures get shared. Like their mythos get shared so much because it's all written down or
Exactly.
recorded in some manner that isn't audio. So it's like with those, it makes sense that those stories are
Yeah, but the lower part of Africa like didn't do a lot
not
of
just the
writing of
lower
the
part,
mythos.
most part like now that I think about it, the vast majority of African countries, they told most of their myths through stories and songs. Very few of them wrote it down. Like take
Yeah,
Anansi, the spider, the god of like lies and deceives and storytelling, who's also the spider god. He's like the most well known. Most of his are all literally just stories that are told. I had to go looking to find an actual written down description of every one of his stories, and even then, it was like many of these may be mistaken because they're all told via word of mouth. So it's like
yeah, and then recorded by sometimes just a monk who was passing by or something.
So I
Well,
know
not a
there's
monk,
a
but a
few
traveler.
African like deities who I think have fish-like property. They're not completely fish, nor like half fish, half human, but I think they are sometimes referred to as having like fins or
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, the African deities like, well, just looking when we did the African dragons, like that's the thing. Even with its weird, some of the African dragon myths, some of their myths are just bizarre. Like some of the African creation myths are just like, dude, what the hell? Like the African myths get really bizarre, and that's partially because they never wrote anything down, and like they didn't actually have rules to what you could and couldn't like translate or make up. So some of the stories
did we lose Archimage?
I guess because I thought for a second that was me.
Yeah, no, I thought that was me. Okay, well,
so strangely enough,
there we
they've
Oh,
been
there he is.
mostly immune. Sorry, what?
no, we lost you for a second.
You cut out for like a few seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. What part did I cut out on?
Right at the right when you would start to talk about the African dragons, I believe.
Oh, I was saying that when we did the African dragons, those myths got weird, but that's not even half as weird as some of their myths. Like some of the African myths could be really bizarre. And well, we don't need to go into that. But I was saying that was mostly because, since they were transferred orally most of the time, you didn't have almost all the rules saying, what you could add, what you couldn't add, and things like that. So their oral translations were not very disciplined. And I'm mentioning this because, believe it or not, there are some tribes who, when they pass things by orally, they actually are very disciplined in it, and they're not allowed to make changes. And they will literally have to recite it nonstop for a couple of years before they can be trusted. But a lot of African nations didn't really do that, which, well, I don't know why they just didn't. Um, there's no real point to that. That's just something interesting to think about. But back to the mermaids. So we're kind of understanding like why were mermaids kind of immune from this exaggeration? Why did their overall aesthetics remain
Uh-oh. Did we lose him again?
Again, yep.
fairly very practical design and it didn't require any exaggeration? I mean, they're associated with the sea. They have fish attributes. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, there may be another cause for its, you know, persistence consistency with regard to its appearance. That being that, again, they are still cited today. And the sheer number of locations would suggest that they're definitely seeing something. I mean, just going through the theories, this goes back to even the first century. And first century in AD, by Pliny the Elder, who's fairly famous for writing a book on naturals, on the natural world. I think he even described the unicorn at one time, which we'll get into later. Though he oddly described them as Nereides, who were sitting upon dolphins. So, okay. Between 1040 and 1105, a Rabbi Shalome Yistaki said that there are fish in the sea with which half is the form of a man and half the form of a fish, called sarini in Old French. And mid 13th century has them. 1430s talked about Dutch mermaids. In 1603, they were spotted. There are lots of descriptions describing the upper part of her body perfect, resembled that of a woman, and she was swimming about with all possible grace near the shore. It had large eyes, rather too round, a finely shaped nose, a little too short, well formed ears, rather too long, and her long green hair imparted to her an original character by no means unattractive. Oddly enough, written in 1614 by Captain John Smith. Yes, the
The
John Smith from Pocahontas.
okay.
1670, Reverend Lucas. There was seen of many of the inhabitants a mermaid close to the shore. She had long hair on her head, which hung down to the surface of the water, and round about her she held a fish in her right hand. So, yeah, there's a lot of cases. 1857, 1890, 1913, and even ones going back to 1990 in Kauai. 1967, multiple tourists in Colombia, Canada said they spotted a mermaid on a ridge. And even in 2008, by one Daniel Capito, who showed a picture of a mermaid sitting on a rock, apparently. And I think the latest was in 2012 by Zimbabwe dam workers. There was also one in India, which was taking a look at about the body of a mermaid, um, which, again, they were said to have covered up. But it does make the tabloids every now and again. While the bodies of mermaids will make tabloids in India and Israel and other places, they don't stay for very long and are basically seen as fluff pieces. Can't imagine why. Uh, Anything you guys want to add to that?
I'm I'm still sticking with that. It. You know what? Mermaids gotta be real, just because they're all avoiding me. So it checks with regular women. So it's like, okay, yep, pans out. Mermaid's completely real.
Well, same boat, so okay. Anyway,
We could just all chalk it up to they're avoiding us. Notice how it's
so
only the guys who keep looking for mermaid. I never hear stories about women looking for mermaids.
how many stories do you have about women looking for men?
Yeah, but never male mermaid. Well, except for those romance novels, but
Ugh, the bloody romance novels. Anyway, there are lots of theories to this. Imagination, not exactly credible witnesses, but to be fair, that's not really fair because we do have some credible witnesses, including Christopher Columbus. Columbus, who of course is most famous for sailing, trying to sail to India and instead discovering America, and later on leading to the greatest country in the world. To all you else who don't agree with that, stuff it.
they're just mad because they don't have enough freedom.
Damn right.
Actually, now it's kind of true with some of the laws
It's
that getting
so true.
passed.
It's so true, especially like in Germany and Britain and man.
They're having a bad time in the UK right now. I feel bad
Oh,
for
they're
them.
having such a bad time in the UK right now. Like it's not even funny. But anyway, besides his famous voyage, he also did talk about mermaids. Apparently, he sighted mermaids in 1493 while Columbus was sailing off the shores of what would become the Dominican Republic. Now, he claimed to have spotted 3 mermaids in his journals. However, his description of them was less than flattering, which I think I actually have here somewhere. Oh, yeah. They were not as beautiful as they are painted, although at some extent they have a human appearance in the face. That was what he wrote in his journals when he came across the mermaids. Now, this has led to some to speculate that what he might have seen was, in fact, a manatee, also known as the sea cow, which is a large, slow moving, and curious aquatic mammal. And, well, if you're looking on YouTube and seeing the picture of it, yeah, not exactly what you'd consider a mermaid, in my opinion. Though you could see why Chris Columbus said they're not as beautiful as they've been foretold. But yeah, so to be fair to Columbus and to many people, the manatee is one of the leading animals who is thought to have been responsible for the sightings of mermaids, that and also seals. But I don't know. Um, Now, to be fair, they think this is because while manatees will like to swim in kind of shallow waters, looking through the water rather distorted, it perhaps could look a little bit more graceful.
I've heard this, but I'm just gonna say this. Even if I was drunk and I was wearing those fake beer goggles, and I took the same type of pills that Dr. House take, I still would be able to recognize that that's not a mermaid. I mean, people
I
talk
kind of
about
agree
beer
with that.
goggles and getting drunk, and you're mistake a lot of stuff. No, there's not the alcohol it would take for me to think that's a beautiful woman is enough to kill me. So I don't know. I think this is CRISPR. I think this was all of their ways of gaslighting us into thinking mermaids are ugly creatures, so that way we don't go looking for them, so they could keep it all for themselves.
That's your theory.
Yes.
Zed, do you agree with Shadow Arfax's theory?
What do you think?
Well, I don't want to assume.
This is just them keeping it from us. I mean,
Who? Who now? Nowadays, exactly.
the descendants are probably the people who found the original mermaid.
Uh,
It probably doesn't help that there is actually like some tribes of people who live primarily on the sea and they can hold their breath longer than most people, and their eyes have become accustomed to seeing underwater and stuff like that. It probably doesn't help that those people, they're all legitimate people like
Yes,
that out
I
there
would
right
also
now.
like to point out that they have not reported great sightings of mermaids, which
And
I
they
just
also
now
live in the Pacific. That
realized.
should. Yep, did we lose you again?
Stop giving him ammo.
I'm sorry, I didn't think of it while I was saying it. Anyway, so actually, another reason people claim that this is what Christopher Columbus saw, and is because of the human-esque features in the face, is people say that manatees' eyes can look strangely human, which I believe we have a picture of an up-close look of manatee's eyes, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't see it. Like,
I've
I
drawn
really
better
don't
eyes on
see it.
stick figures. It's just a dot.
I mean, yeah, there's dimension to it, but like they're not very human eyes, and I'm sorry, I don't really see the humanness in the. I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
This is
I've
just
never
feeding
understood
more
that.
into my belief that they are hiding mermaids from us, and they're gaslighting us into thinking, "Oh, you're just looking at manatees."
Okay, so maybe, but I'm going with extremely unlikely.
This is like the chupacabra thing all over again. Oh, that's just a mangy dog. Don't believe that there's a creature that eat goats, And then why don't I have any goats?
The mangy dog was eating goats.
It still doesn't explain how it ate so many of my goats.
Well, they did find out there was
Really?
like a. Didn't they do a whole thing that in Texas the chupacabra was actually a strange species of coyote that was a little out there, probably due to some inbreeding or something.
I don't know if that was in.
I feel like we looked at that image at one time in one of these podcasts.
We did look at dogs with mange and stuff like that.
Yeah, like didn't we specifically look at like what they considered the chupacabra specifically from Texas could have been? Because the Texas described chupacabra is different from the Mexico described chupacabra. They're very different creatures. Um, well, anyway, that's not important. Like I say, maybe unlikely, but we're looking at what other explanations may exist. And this is where this is going mostly into speculation because this is one of the creatures I couldn't really find a very decent explanation for what could have been, which does happen every now and again. Maybe it was a fisherman's tale that they just decided to keep alive. You know, people like to tell stories. Maybe fishermen collectively decided to just keep this one going because they find it entertaining. Maybe there is an actual creature that this is based on. I don't really know what it would be, but
a mermaid, of course.
Zed, do you have any more rational ideas of what an actual creature might be? Zed?
No, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, again, of all the thing, manatees, you're gonna describe what people often describe as a beautiful woman of the sea as a fat sea cow. That's like me going to a dairy farm and going, "Hey, I just found Miss America or something over here. Look, I'm pointing at a cow the whole time."
Okay, look, I have said I don't think manatee is a good explanation. Like, I've said that.
I
I
guess I
don't
should
think
be
it's a
happy they
good
didn't choose a
explanation.
whale or ochre. Hey, I found the mermaid, guys. It's a little bit on the hefty side, but totally a mermaid here.
Okay, so other thoughts. Maybe we're going into more subjective. Maybe Mermaid was almost a way to describe naturally good swimmers at a time when swimming wasn't that frequent. Although I admit that's a very doubtful explanation. Perhaps it was a snowball effect that reached its natural zenith. You know, it's just maybe it stopped at half fish, half human because that was the most ideal version of the creature that you could get. I mean, maybe this is just the masses' favorite version of it. I mean, could it be that simple? That this is just what people like the most about this story, that this is just the form that makes the most sense, and it doesn't make sense to give the mermaid much else? What do you think?
I mean, if it's a bunch of lonely guys on a ship, I would just imagine beautiful. I would have kept the beautiful women part, but got rid of the fish part and just say a beautiful woman came aboard my ship, not a half. I mean,
Yeah, it's the half fish part I'm confused about.
this again is why I'm saying it was made by women, because just think how many romance novels you've been to a bookstore. How many romance novel made by women has them getting it on with a half human, half monster hybrid? A
More
lot
than I
of
want
them.
to admit
A
to.
lot of them. I
Freaking
met a
lot of them.
wolfman. I met Dracula. I met a half dragon man. I have.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really. So what I think about those is going back to my irritation with Beauty and the Beast, which we may have discussed at one time, but I'm not sure on the podcast. But I always found Beauty and the Beast an irritating fairy tale because I never understood why. Even as a kid, like there was something that fundamentally irritated me about the Beauty and the Beast movie. It wasn't until I was older I kind of figured it out. Is that Beauty and the Beast is literally the ultimate female fantasy of the bad boy scenario. A literal
I can fix
monster
him.
changes in it. She fixes a literal monster and turns him into a handsome prince. That is the ultimate fantasy of the bad boy fantasy. That is like the zenith, highest highest parable of the freaking bad boy fantasy, and it pissed me off. It's like, no, because I'm sorry, like no offense to women out there, but yeah, your fantasy about the bad boy, it's freaking stupid. If he treats you like shit at the start of a relationship, he's probably going to continue to treat you like shit. And you thinking you could change him is naive and stupid and part of these dumbass novels that you keep reading. Yeah, that's right. I said it. I
I'm
challenge
just.
anybody to say it's wrong. Any takers?
No, I'm still stuck on it.
Well, I can say it. I can say it just because I know I can, but I know that you mean actually say it as if they believe it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But yeah, so no. But like I said, I'm not really sure. The fact is, it is difficult to say, and it doesn't help that the mermaids in terms of motivation started getting mixed with sirens, and sirens we did in an earlier podcast, and sirens are different from mermaids. But they got mixed with him a lot, and you kind of have to weed out those two. And also, unfortunately, the name is not at all helpful, as mermaid is literally Old English for sea and maiden. So, it tells a lot there. Now, there may be one more clue to it, but before we get into that, let's take a lighter note and give it over to Zed. And let's play Who's That Monster Pokemon, which, let's be honest, is the only real reason he's here.
Yeah.
Because it's the only part he actually enjoys instead of listening to us debate this nonsense.
I mean, instead of listening to the random reason as to why they don't exist, being that they don't want to see Shadow Arfox.
Yes.
That sounds logical to me. I mean,
the sad part is I can't actually refute that logic.
Well, neither can I. That doesn't mean I'm going to agree with them.
I mean, they just.
No, I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying it's sad I can't refute it.
I mean, look, it's like I go to the sea. I bring out a bouquet of flowers. I'm looking for a date, and no pickers right there. No takers.
Okay, no, wait a minute. Since when are you paying for a bouquet of flowers?
Well, okay, by that I mean I took them out of people's yards, but
Okay, thank you. As long as we're consistent. Pay for a bouquet of flowers. Yeah, right. Okay, Zed, take it away.
Okay, well, this was actually a very easy one to do because over the last few years, one of the starter Pokemon is now actually a mermaid, and that would be Primarina. I don't think I need to explain.
Yep, nope.
And the whole
And it
theme
actually,
behind that started was, I think, performers at a circus.
Yes, essentially circus performers, like circuit, because obviously it's also part seal.
yeah, I
So
was
like
gonna say.
circus seals, but also it has the clear mermaid aspect along with
Well,
the
I mean,
whole
to be
singing
fair,
aspect.
sorry, to be fair, we just went through a part where we're saying that seals are also uh, theorized to be a legend, a source of the mermaid legend. So in reality, it fits in two ways,
And she's also a diva, so just like how you said the sirens get mixed in with the mermaids, see one of her special abilities is singing and using her voice to attack.
Yeah, sure, it makes sense. Again, Pokemon is just. Uh, I mean, Zed, like in reality, like you haven't actually had a lot of trouble finding things from most of these monsters.
No,
Like it's like you don't all. Sometimes you'll borrow from Digimon just for the heck. In fact, the only time you've really had trouble is like trying to go with the bizarre ass angels that we've been going over.
yeah,
Even then, you've still managed to find things,
yep. Welcome to modern day pop culture, and none of it makes sense.
right? But then again, maybe the point of this is just kind of a continuation of old timey culture and just shows you attributes that are added on and subtracted. Because I mean, the Pokemon is clearly not meant to be humanoid, yet still comes out as mermaid-ish. So like, it's still going with the optimal look, even if it kind of replaced the human part with a seal. So
If anything, it's
that is
more
interesting,
accurate because it's actually a seal, which people think most mermaids are, is dugong and seals.
right? And there's a Pokemon named Dugong.
Yes. And another one named like Silo or something like that, or
Celio. Well,
Celio.
Celio less so because that's based off of a walrus.
Well,
Isn't there a Pokemon named Seal?
Yeah, it's the pre-evolution of dugong.
the dugong,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, that's how it goes. All right. But yeah, so maybe that optimization is something, and which leads us to maybe our final bit of this is perhaps learning more can come from trying to look at the earliest stories of mermaids. Now, oddly enough, earliest stories of mermaids or mermaid-ish kind of things, because I have to use that very loosely, and you'll understand why, is that they are not a foreboding creature. They're not emissaries of doom. They're not omens. They're not even protectors warning you. In fact, the earliest stories aren't even creatures. It's normally a woman that's being forcibly turned into a fish. And to show that, one of the earliest legends that's kind of mermaid esque is the legend of Atargetis. Atargetis, who is a goddess of northern Syria. Now, she is a goddess who took a human form and also took a human lover. Her, well, as you can figure out if, well, Shadow R. Fox, you've looked into Greek mythology. You know what happens when gods take human lovers.
Usually the
Often,
human lover get punished.
yeah. So, long story short, this wasn't much different. Her actions led to the death of her human lover. And in her shame, she became a fish. Now, here's where things get a little weird. So she became a fish in her shame, but it was said that even as a fish, her beauty shone through, and they could tell it was still her. What the heck does that mean?
That means someone wanted to fuck a fish.
That's as good of an explanation as
I'm not
any.
gonna
But it's
mince
like,
words. That's all that meant.
um, you see, the thing is, I can't challenge that because bestiality is a thing.
What's funny
Exactly.
is I was just thinking of a Greek myth where a guy wanted to screw a statue.
and also a Greek myth where a woman wanted to screw a cow, and we got the Minotaur, where a woman screwed a goose and gave birth to two of Zeus's children. Where you know what?
I drop.
No. You're good. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
But
For a
Alchemist
second, I
did
didn't.
disappear for a second.
Oh, okay.
I
I say
don't know what.
maybe this is. I was saying, you
Augment, you
know
cut
what?
out
Maybe
there.
the real. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying maybe the real source of the mermaid is that people didn't know how to express bestiality because, Greek mythology had a woman who wanted to screw a cow, and that's how we got the Minotaur. It had a woman being screwed by a freaking swan who may have been disguised as or not, but was still a swan. She got screwed by a bird and had two kids. Again, maybe this is all just people's fetishes with freaking bestiality. Maybe that's the real source of the mermaid. Thoughts?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Okay. So, in all seriousness, the reason I mention this is this goddess was originally capable of completely turning into a fish. But as it's being shown on YouTube, a very small picture, unfortunately, but um, what it shows is that a lot of early depictions would show the transformation. So, in order to kind of showcase her power and showcase that she was turning into a fish, they would depict her or depict other deities like this that could do this halfway transformed. So, human and then half fish, showing them basically going through their power. So, that's the real question. If this depicts showed basically a bit of their power, showing them a mid transformation, could this legend of the mermaid really have spawned from an artistic representation? That's a question.
um, Possible. Sorry, I was also trying to get a m- bigger picture for the.
Oh well, I mean they can look it up if they look up
Yeah, no.
Atarget Atargets or whatever, they'll find it. It's a goddess of the northern
I got one.
Syria. Oh yeah, there we go. Like perhaps showing this depiction was actually a showcase of power mid transformation. I mean, is it possible that artistic representation is what really kind of started this mermaid myth?
I I don't know. I used to think it was just lonely sailors, but then I'm like, no, lonely sailors will actually put a female half as the bottom as well. So I was like, no. I'm
Yep.
still sticking with my. This was made up by females. Like, yeah, you can look at her, but you still gotta come home to me at the end of the day.
There you go. I mean, the reason I bring up artist representation because like art does represent things like that. Like they'll represent sometimes moon or sun deities. They'll put them in a sun or put just their face in it, a face in the sun to represent a god of the sun, or a face in a moon to represent that. Sometimes full bodies, which is actually a lot of the ancient alien crap in medieval art, is because of these artistic choices with Byzantine art,
Yeah,
which pisses me off because anyone could look that up and know that, but they choose to ignore it and immediately go to flying saucers.
but at the
It's
same
like,
time, we've had plenty of stories where people were turned into animals, and they said
exactly.
they said they saw them through the animal, but they still described them as the animal. Like the princess that was turned into a donkey, um, as actually by I think Poseidon, if memory serves correctly.
Right.
This was
Or the one who was turned into a tree by Zeus,
the one that was turned into a cow by Zeus.
right? God, the Greek gods were shit,
I mean, yeah, well, most of the time the deities so shit.
right? Ugh. Well, anyway, so all of this, is the mermaid real? Well, okay, look, all the sightings, I believe that they're seeing something. Question is what? And frankly, I'm not 100% sure. But the mermaid mythology brings to light a common problem when it comes to myth origin. That being that many myths, especially those of monsters, are not completely set in their goals and overall motivations. This lack of structure allows myths to be modified for audiences, which can make them timeless stories, but can also obscure the truth in tales that may at once have attempted to portray. As to the question of whether or not the mermaid exists, well, perhaps this is one that will definitely need to actually be accurately seen to be believed. What do you think?
What I'm hearing is we gotta rent out some submarine and go looking for dates next Friday night or something like that.
Sure, we'll meet you at the pier. You'll rent the sub, right?
Yeah, yeah, the same place I rent the flowers.
Oddly enough, there are places you can rent subs, but
I just
oh,
love that
this might get
process.
me canceled, but I'm saying it. Just make sure you don't rent the from the place that made the Titan
Oh
submarine.
yeah, no. Well, then we can go. Well, I'm not gonna make that joke, but I can't make that
We can
joke either.
we can go all in.
No, I was just thinking that. Well, we'll probably we can easily say we saw a mermaid, and yeah, and they never saw us again. So
Uh, horrible. Haven't heard a joke that horrible since the Snow White comments.
because before that, I was gonna say, well, we'll go out with a bang, and then I was gonna say, and like no, then we'll go out more with a crush, but.
We'll blame the mermaids and the sirens crushing us to death.
I
Oh,
mean,
that's just horrible.
I'm just, I don't know with the whole mythos of the mermaid. It's we
Yeah,
if
go
they
ahead.
came along more late and it wasn't so ancient, we could argue that this was some type of deep secret Cold War tech weapon or something like that, and we could go crazy conspiracy theory. But this has been around for a while, so.
That would be a more fun myth to make.
But as far as I know, there was no U.S. or Soviet sponsored experiment to make sea people. Ape,
No.
human ape hybrids, yes,
Yes, that's true.
but not
But
human fish hybrids.
yep, I agree.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, even with even that. Yeah, no, yeah, no one ever did human fish hybrid. They always stuck with human ape hybrids.
I mean, they were basically going for strength of an ape and intelligence of a human. I mean, how that would ever really come to. I mean, the Soviets went pretty damn far with that
They
experiment.
went really far with that experiment.
What actually alarms me is how many women signed up for.
I think didn't without going into the women one. Didn't at the height they tried to transfer a ape brain into a human body and vice versa via a brain
Uh,
surgery.
no, that was later. That was an Italian doctor later on.
Was that the Italian? Okay.
Yeah, no, the Soviets never went that nuts. They wanted to ethically breed a human ape
Yes,
hybrid.
no, I remember their methods of breeding. Yes. They had to try
Ugh.
multiple times before they had to learn that it was different. What's the biological
Genetic
term?
code,
Would it
DNA,
be species, families, gene,
different species,
species?
different
Okay.
species. Yeah, different chromosomal species. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they had to try multiple times before they realized that.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think about that. Just going, okay, so this. This is
But
what
I
Russia
haven't read
did.
any stories of people screwing fishes to try to achieve the same concept.
Maybe that's for the best.
Now I'm double checking.
Okay, all right. You really want that in your search history?
it, Google's already got me for stranger stuff, so.
That's not alarming. Well, that's all I got on the mermaids. Anything else you guys want to add, or like some theory you want to post out? Because if you got a theory, throw it out there. I'm all ears.
My theory is that someone really wanted to fuck a fish and didn't want to feel that weird about it.
You know what? It's a shame. That's as good of a theory as any.
No, there's no Cold War of them trying to. Yeah, surprisingly, they did nothing with the sea in terms of trying to make mermaids or try to. I mean, maybe they made different classes of submarines and stuff like that, but we all know that. So
They did try to train dolphins at one time.
what do you mean try? They succeeded at training sea animals to do things
No,
like
they
that.
did. They trained dolphins. It's just that they didn't have a great. They worked very well. They just didn't have a great amount of use.
We used them to disable undersea mines and bombs.
Yes, it just didn't last long.
Yeah, because animal rights groups stopped them from doing that.
Yeah, took away their jobs. They were
Actually,
hard work.
yes, they did take away the if I recall correctly, those dolphins was trained very specifically to think of disarming a bomb as play. So to the dolphin now no longer being able to do that, it was like they can no longer play.
Yeah, freaking animal rights
So
groups.
it actually did, I think, cause the harms to some of the dolphins because they're like, well, they kind of lost what they felt was their purpose, which was to play around with mines and disarm them.
Right. Again, this is what happens when you listen to overly emotional, stupid people who don't know what they're talking about. And yet we keep doing it. Which I don't understand. Why do we listen to dumb people?
Oh, sorry. The dolphin was primarily made to mock the bombs, not disarm them.
I thought that's what you meant. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
what you
mock
think the
them.
dolphin
Yeah.
like was opening its panel and
I
like,
mean, they're pretty small.
okay, okay, but they lack fingers and arms.
I mean, look, Flipper is really small, so I think.
I mean, yes, dolphins are smart, but they can also be suicidal at times. Actually, that's not a joke. They really can be. Like, dolphins have been known to actually kill themselves at times if they're feeling depressed. Okay, I just made this very sad. Like, is there anything that we really want to go in
I think we're
mermaids
still
anymore?
using them in some regards.
Dolphins?
Well, let me see. Yeah, because I'm trying to think if we. Yeah, because if we would use them all the way up to 2007, so.
Eh. Who knows? We all know the military doesn't tell us everything.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, especially with the animal rights groups.
Other
All right, well,
than
that's
that,
all I got.
yeah, other than that, I'm still sticking with the theories that, yeah, either Columbus found all the mermaids and he hid them from us, or the mermaids are too awestruck by my brilliance and good looks and they're fleeing away from us. Um, let's see.
Oh, please, enough. There can't be more.
Mermaids, like all women, are just inferior to me and they're just fleeing.
I don't understand how you're single. I really don't.
I don't know. God gift to women, they just can't realize that they. I don't know what's wrong with them. I
I
think
know.
there's
You tell
something.
them all
You
the
know
time.
what? I would say there's something in the water, and we know it is. It's the mermaids tainting women against us. That's what it is.
That makes perfect sense.
Yes.
I can literally hear Zed's eyes roll talk right now. All right. All right, now that we've officially been canceled by every woman in the world, thank you for joining us for this look into mermaids, which probably didn't give you much on the possible origin of it, but I hope it at least showed off about a little bit of what might have been and helped you think about what may have inspired this myth. Maybe you'll come up with a better explanation than Shadow R. Fox.
Okay, you want a more realistic one? Women riding on top
No!
of sea animals.
Huh. Maybe.
Dolphins can be trained. They a tribe of maybe a small group of women train certain animals such as seals or dolphins and could swim alongside them. Guys saw that happening and they confused the dolphin half or the seal half and the woman because they swam so close to each other.
Maybe that's closer to the myth of how centaurs came about with the men so comfortable on the horses they became just part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be. You've had that this whole time, and you chose all the other nonsense
Well, I
to talk
can't
about
think of
instead.
there's not any documentation of a tribe of people training seals or dolphins or insert random sea animal that would be large enough, oh, dugongs, to
Well, I mean, there probably wouldn't. It'd probably just be a leisurely thing.
the most I can think of is people swimming alongside them, but even then, I mean, dugongs and seals are skittish around people, so the only animal left would be a dolphin because they're the only one inquisitive enough to swim next to humans. So okay, now that we're on the now that I'm on a logical rant, what's the dolphins habitat? Let me just look that up real fast. Like, where do they mostly swim on a map? Are they in the Atlantic? Yes, they're in the okay, they're pretty much all over. So they're in the oh
Yeah.
look, they're also on the coastline of the Atlantic where we often see mermaids. Let me see if I can get a map up there real fast. They're often on the Atlantic and the Pacific where there's often mermaid sightings and where people would be swimming. So it's more than likely people swimming along. People back then were swimming, just happened to be female, and oh look, there's a dolphin that's swimming next to them. Look at that map, and let's pull up the map you had, Archimage, with the mermaid sighting, and let's get them real close, and let's do a little.
No, actually, no, this is. I'm just. Again, you wait till this to bring out the actual logic.
Well,
That's
I
actually
mean,
not a bad idea.
there. you want it's just like the Beast of Troy all over again. You want the honest answer? There you go. And
I
look,
always want the honest answer.
look, India, Africa, all the places where they're sighting is lined up perfectly with dolphins.
I mean, yeah, no, dolphins would be acquisitive enough. I mean, it's not unheard of. Like, again, they think that that's how the centaurs came about, was depictions of, just really good horsemen, but also an attempt to make them less human. So mermaids might have that. If you have sailors sailing to new lands, maybe they saw some of the local tribesmen riding dolphins. I mean, it's not impossible. Just exaggeration, because that would actually make sense with the exaggeration. So no, that's not a bad idea. All right. Well,
Beast of
that's actually not a bad explanation.
Beast of Troy all
Maybe it
over
is
again.
something.
I had to turn the alligator skull upside down and just point it out to everyone. There you go.
There you go. All right, with that actual look, maybe it is something to take a look at. So that's perhaps two monsters that Shadow R Fox has actually solved when he's not making nonsense.
I prefer to live in my delusion.
You prefer black logic.
That too. They're one and the same in this case.
Well, at least you admit it, so well done. All right, with that, I think Zed's had enough of this. So, we'll see you all next time. Of course, if you want any more information on mermaids or other monsters, feel free to look up Probable, Possible, Plausible, an explanatory guide to monsters and myth. And we will see you next time with either another section of the Angel podcast or unicorns, I believe, is next in the monster book.
Oh, the movie just came out for them
What?
of unicorns.
Oh, yeah. My folks actually said that was good. I've been meaning to watch it.
Yeah, the horror film, Death of a Unicorn or something like that. I think that was the name of it, Death of a Unicorn.
Yeah, that was it. Might take a look at that. Folks said it was good. And with that, well, have fun. And we, as always, we went off on bizarre tangents, which
Yes.
no one is surprised about. So until then, this is Archimage saying goodbye, and my co-host.
Shadow Fox.
Dead.
Later.
See ya.
I